All right, time now to head to our top story tonight and eventually to our newsmaker. Even as Virat Kohli settles down in his job as the full-time Test captain of India, there are some who feel vindicated, having wanted to hand over the reins to Kohli as long as 3 years ago. Now, the former national selector Raja Venkat has now stirred the hornet's nest yet again, saying that Kohli was the unanimous choice to take over from Mahendra Singh Dhoni before the one-day series, tri-series down under. But it was the then BCCI president N. Srinivasan who scuttled the move. Now, writing in his column in Ebala, a popular Bengali newspaper from the ABP stable, which you can see on your screens now, Raja Venkat, a national selector in the committee that was chaired by K. Srikanth, has now revealed that team spirit had hit an all-time low as India trailed 0-3. Venkat wrote about several factions developing within the Indian dressing room and said that the selectors had unanimously decided that it was time to sack Dhoni as ODI captain and replace him with Virat Kohli. But N. Srinivasan did not allow the proposed change. Right, let's get to our newsmaker immediately, Raja Venkat, former national selector. Raja, good evening. Welcome back to CNN-IBN. Always good to have you on the show. Tell us what you've written in the Bengali newspaper. Of course, I can translate it, so can all the Bengalis. But for the benefit of all our viewers who do not know or how to read Bengali, what exactly did you mean when you wrote this article about wanting to replace Dhoni with Kohli?
Good evening, Sanjeev. Sanjeev, what had happened is when India were playing this test match against Bangladesh and Kohli has been appointed the permanent test captain for the Indian team, I was asked to write a column on what your expectation was and what you felt was Kohli as a captain. So what I had written in my article was that we had thought about it 3.5 years ago, sometime early 2012, when India were touring Australia and we were down 3-0. Before we were sitting for selecting the team for the one-day series, a couple of our colleagues were in Australia and they had come back and they had mentioned to us that this team is disjointed, there's no team spirit, there are groups in the team, so we need to have a look at this team, maybe change the captain. So all of us, all the 5 of us unanimously agreed that we need a change in the captaincy. This was informed to the secretary, and the secretary says if this has to be done, the president's approval has to be taken. So the president comes across and he says, look, this is the middle of the series and you can't do it. So we said, we reasoned out why we needed a change, but he felt, no, we couldn't do that. So that was that. We couldn't change the captain.
Well, Raja, was the president, as you're referring to, was N. Srinivasan insistent on not changing the captain just because it was the middle of the series, or did you guys feel at that point of time that Srinivasan was the BCCI president? Of course, he owned the Chennai Super Kings. Dhoni was part of the Chennai Super Kings. Perhaps that's the reason which held him back also.
See, we were not bothered about that. We were bothered about Team India. And we really felt that at that point in time, we needed a change. And what we thought was, you know, we needed a person who could lead the team for the next 10 years. And the right person at that point in time was Virat Kohli. So we really thought that it should be Virat Kohli who should be there, regardless of which team he belonged to. But all we were interested was in Team India, that's all.
Right. You know, one thing interesting I've read in your article, Raja, and which is being widely quoted now, is the fact that you said that there were a lot of factions within the team, perhaps pointing to unrest within the team. However, as you and your other colleagues observed that Virat Kohli himself was not part of any faction, and that led you guys to believe that perhaps he is the right man for the job. Am I right?
Absolutely, yes, because that's the feedback we got from the people who came back from Australia. They said when they're moving around, when they're at the airport and stuff like that, you could make out very clearly there were different groups. And that was the reason that we felt we had to bring about this change. And Virat, being a newcomer, fairly newcomer at that point in time, and had done exceedingly well in Australia, so we thought, yes, this is the man to lead Indian cricket.
Right. So in a sense, N. Srinivasan, the then BCCI president, vetoed the selector's wish or the urge to remove Dhoni as a captain and get Virat Kohli as the captain?
Yes, he said, like I mentioned to you, what he said was, he said, the team has been announced and in the midst of the series, you can't change the captain. But again, we were selecting a fresh team for the one-dayers. The team was announced for the test team, yes, that's right, but not for the one-dayers. One-dayers, we had to select a fresh team, and that's what we were there for. But unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Absolutely. In fact, you know, Raja, let me get you and, of course, all our viewers to refresh our memories. Let's now listen in to one of your colleagues, in fact, Mohinder Amarnath, who actually walked out, you know, in disgust after these proceedings happened. He barely, or rather, he rarely opens his mouth on these issues. But way back in 2012, when we caught up with him here at CNN-IBN, this is what Jimmy Amarnath had to say about this particular incident. Let's now listen in.
Selection committee didn't want Mahendra Singh Dhoni after humiliating test series in Australia. We wanted to replace somebody, but I think somebody from the BCCI didn't want that. It was a unanimous decision of the selection committee to replace Dhoni with somebody else after a disaster series in Australia. We wanted to do something good for Indian cricket. We were trying to look ahead. We wanted a young captain to come in, especially in a triangular one-day series, so that, you know, we can go ahead and do something better in the near future. Why do you need a selection committee over there if one person is going to decide who should be at the helms of affair and who should not be there? Who knows the constitution of the BCCI? I would like to know the current selection committee. They are aware? Do they know what is there in the constitution? I was not aware of any constitution of the BCCI. I was not given a copy of the BCCI.
Right, so Raja, we just heard your former colleague Mohinder Amarnath on this same particular issue, and he is actually saying the same thing 2 years back. But in a sense, N. Srinivasan, when we actually also caught up with him, managed to speak with him during this time when this controversy broke out, he referred to Article 13.4 in the BCCI Constitution, which gives the President the authority to take such decisions while choosing a team for a series or even a captain for a series. On the other hand, would you also agree with what Jimmy Amarnath right now said, that what's the point of having selectors like us, or, you know, selectors in any case, if there is one person like the President who is going to take the final decision?
See, if you look at it, Sanjeev, we were selectors for 4 years, and this was the only occasion it happened. Before that, we never had anything like that. We had Mr. Shashank Manohar as the President for 3 years. He never intervened. He never even mentioned anything. When the team was announced to him, he just approved it, that's it. And he always said, selectors have a job to do, and you guys are doing it, and you do it. I'm not a selector. I don't have the capability or the competency to select a team. It's you guys who are being given that job, and you guys have to do it.
Absolutely. And, you know, after this incident happened, maybe after the tri-series, did you people go back to the board president saying that, reiterating that we still want to change the captain, or you guys just let it be like the way it was?
See, after this tour, there was only one more team that we selected, and that was the home series against New Zealand. And after that, we finished our term 4 years. And unfortunately, Jimmy Amarnath got the sack, though we were told that he would be the chairman of the selection committee the following year. Unfortunately, he had to pay the price for being straightforward.
He had to pay the price for being straightforward, but actually he took up a stand. In hindsight, Raja, do you feel today, you know, of course, the moment you wrote this article, it's grabbed the headlines, and as I said, this is perhaps the worst kept secret in Indian cricket. But in hindsight, do you feel that perhaps you colleagues, all of you colleagues, could have done well, or rather done better by taking a stand the moment Srinivasan interfered by stepping down from your jobs?
Maybe yes. In the hindsight, if you look at it, may have done better. May have been good for Indian cricket, really.
May have been going good for Indian cricket, because you know, that's something which we have not really seen. But final word to you, of course. Yes, this is making headlines, and people would like to see it as a controversy. I don't see it as a controversy. You've just written a very stirring article, and I look forward to reading, Raja, your articles on Abela. Obviously on the internet, because since it's not available here in North India. But as we let you go, what are your expectations from Virat Kohli, the captain? He's just started off 3 days into his newly settled job as a full-time Test captain. What are you expecting from Virat Kohli, the Test captain?
See, what we've seen of Virat is he's a very, very positive young man, very focused, hardworking, sincere. enjoys the respect of all the players, and fits into all forms of cricket. See, that is the most important thing. If you look at MS Dhoni, yes, a fantastic one-day cricketer, a fantastic T20 cricketer, but when it comes to Test cricket, his wicket-keeping is pretty average. I wouldn't call him a top-class stumper. He's okay and a decent batsman, but when you have a Test team, you have specialists playing, and in my opinion, I've said it before also, you have to have the safest pair of hands behind the stumps, and you know who that is. The guy who's donning the gloves for India now, Riddhiman Shah. He had done an excellent job in the only Test match he played in that series in Australia, in Adelaide, and everybody praised him. All the Australian commentators went gaga about his wicket-keeping, and after that he had to sit out again.
Right. Well, we'll have to leave it at that. Unfortunately, completely out of time. But Raja Venkat, have to thank you, for actually putting things out, even though it's taken a little bit of time. Because what we've seen in Indian cricket, and of course with BCCI, more specifically with N. Srinivasan's reign, is that everybody had to remain tight-lipped, or they had to pay the price, like Mohinder Amarnath, as you rightly pointed out, or even Sanjay Jagdale and Ajay Shirke, two very honorable men who actually took the call of getting out of the board. And of course, thanks for reminding us about our personal choice of favorite BCCI president over and over again, Shashank Manohar. On that note, Raja Venkat, looking forward to reading more such stirring stuff on the newspaper you write for. And thank you very much for sharing with us your insight and, of course, your experience during that time when you guys wanted to remove Mahendra Singh Dhoni and get Virat Kohli into the captain seat. But as they say, better late than never.